There are timelines the gods have long forgotten, shards of destiny adrift in the silence between stars. In one such thread, the son who was never meant to ascend beyond his father would ignite a light that even angels could not name. A whisper, born from innocence and solitude, would become the sound that split eternity. In this world, Goten, child of peace, would awaken the calm that lies beyond fury. And in doing so, he would transcend even the titans who forged the path before him. Before we walk into this alternate destiny, remember to join the journey, so our timelines may never fade into silence. The wind carried the scent of rain through Mount Paozu that evening, soft and unhurried. Birds skimmed the treetops in gentle arcs, and the world, for a moment, seemed to breathe without the sound of struggle. Beneath an ancient tree whose roots curled like sleeping dragons, Goten sat cross-legged, eyes half closed, palms open to the fading sun. His ki, faint, clean, and rhythmic, pulsed not with power, but with presence. He was the son of legends, born into the echo of gods and warriors. Goku, his father, whose laughter had once pierced the void between universes. And Vegeta, the rival whose pride had carved destiny itself. They were sons. Goten, by comparison, was the quiet space between their light, unseen but infinite. As he breathed, the air shimmered faintly. Leaves rose, circling him like fragments of memory. To most, Goten was cheerful, careless, a remnant of a peaceful age. But beneath that surface was something the Saiyan blood could not name, a stillness too profound for anger, too vast for fear. He fought rarely. When he did, it was not out of hunger for victory, but as though he were listening for something, a sound beyond sound. That night, when the stars burned unusually close, a disturbance rippled through the cosmos. Beerus stirred from slumber. Whis looked upward, eyes narrowing. Far beyond mortal sight, in a realm between Kaioshin time flows, a pulse rang out, faint but clear. A resonance not born from rage, but from balance. It was Goten's ki. The next morning, Goku appeared in the clearing with his familiar grin, his orange gi torn from some distant sparring. "Hey, Goten," he called, his voice echoing across the valley. "You've been training out here alone again? I can't even sense your energy half the time. It's like you're not even here." Goten opened his eyes. For a moment, Goku felt something strange, as though his son's gaze wasn't looking at him, but through him, into some deeper rhythm. Then Goten smiled, gentle and warm. "I'm just trying to hear it, Dad." "What? Hear what?" "The space between things," Goten said softly. "The part of ki that doesn't move." Goku scratched his head, laughing. "You sound like Whis when he's half asleep. Come on, let's get some real training in." And yet, even as he said it, something in Goku hesitated. He had walked the edge of ultra instinct, touched the divine quiet between attack and awareness. But the peace he felt radiating from Goten wasn't something achieved through combat or divine intervention. It was natural, unforced, like water finding its level. Later that day, Piccolo visited. The old Namekian had sensed it too, that subtle pulse, that impossible quiet. He watched Goten spar with Goku, his movements barely visible, each strike dissolving into flow. Goku lunged, vanished, reappeared behind his son with blinding speed. Yet Goten had already moved, as though the air itself had warned him. Piccolo folded his arms. He's not dodging. He's existing between moments. When Goten landed a light tap on Goku's chest, the earth cracked. Goku stumbled back, more from shock than pain. "Heh," he laughed breathlessly. "You're really something, kid."
Goten's breath steadied. No pride, no exhilaration, only calm. "I'm not trying to win, Dad," he said. "I just wanted to see how close I could get before the thought to move even started." That night, when Goten returned to his hill, he sat beneath the same tree. The stars pulsed faintly, almost responding. His ki no longer felt like his own. It merged with the wind, the insects, the murmur of rivers in the dark. Somewhere far away, Whis felt it again, that quiet rhythm aligning with the fabric of ultra instinct itself. Impossible, Whis whispered into the void. He's touching it without divine training, without the angelic pulse, just through being. The following dawn, the skies trembled. A rift opened above Earth's atmosphere, faint, circular, like a ripple through light itself. Energy unfamiliar and ancient flowed through. Beerus opened one eye, sensing something he had not felt in eons, a mortal frequency that resonated with stillness, deeper than destruction. In the orchard below, unaware of the god's gaze, Goten stood barefoot among falling petals. The light caught his hair, glinting silver for just a heartbeat. His breath aligned with the wind, his heart stilled. And in that breath, the universe paused. Clouds drifted like slow thoughts over Mount Poozu when space folded with the soundless grace of a bell that only gods hear. Whis descended without disturbing a single leaf, staff tucked lightly beneath one arm, eyes bright as if amused by a riddle the cosmos had just told him. He found Goten standing amid the orchard, palms open, breath quiet, the morning light touching his hair as though remembering a promise. "Good morning," Whis said, voice soft as dew. "I hope you don't mind a visitor. Your key started an interesting conversation last night." Goten blinked, a little surprised, as if waking from a pleasant dream. "Mr. Whis, I didn't call anyone." That's the clever part," Whis replied, tilting his head. "You called nothing, and nothing answered. Very rare. Very elegant." Goku landed beside them with a grin that trembled at the edges. He had felt the shift in reality, had sensed the careful footfall of an angel. "Whis, is Beerus here too?" Whis said lightly, "Not yet, he's listening. And when a god of destruction listens, it means the universe is trying to decide whether to speak or remain a secret." Piccolo appeared on a wind-lean ridge, silent, studying. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the Kaioshin watched through crystal threads of time, breath half-held, as if a fragile cup brimmed with new water, and any word might spill it. We stepped close to Goten. "Show me your stillness." Goten nodded. He did not power up. He did not clench his fists or roar. He simply breathed. A soft pulse moved through the orchard. Petals rose as if remembering flight. Ki thinned into transparency, and the sounds of the world lengthened, each note uncoiling. Goku felt his own heartbeat slow, the space between thumps stretching wide enough to hold whole ideas, whole lives.
Goku whispered, more to himself than anyone. "That's beyond dodging." "Awareness without insistence," Piccolo said. "He isn't trying to survive, he's letting survival choose him." The air brightened, the way it does before thunder. A violet ripple pushed across the sky from nowhere and everywhere. Whis lowered his staff with a faint sigh that might have been delight. "Our listener arrives." Beerus stepped through a crease in dawn, tail slow, eyes half-lidded. The orchard dimmed under his presence, not from malice, but from a gravity of meaning, as if every leaf had become a decision. He glanced at Goku, at Piccolo, then let his gaze rest on Goten with a patient, predatory stillness. "So," Beerus said, "a mortal singing silence." Goten bowed, awkward but sincere. "Hello, Lord Beerus." "Polite," Beerus noted, almost disappointed. "Let's see whether your quiet carries a reason to exist." Whis's staff tapped once, and the orchard transformed. Not physically, mountains remained mountains, but context shifted. The breeze condensed into rhythm, sunlight turned to a metronome tapping against the pulse of the world. Beerus raised one finger. It wasn't an attack. It was permission for endings to begin. Goku tensed. "Beerus, wait!" Whis's glance stilled him. "If we interrupt a question, we'll never know the answer." Beerus moved. It was a simple step, a god's thought pretending to be a footfall. The world followed, dragged by a wake of inevitability.
Goten did nothing, then less than nothing. He let the step arrive and arrive and arrive until it had no need to conclude. And in that incomplete conclusion, the god's momentum found nowhere to land. The orchard, instead of shattering, breathed in. Beerus's ear twitched. He sharpened. The air thinned. Petals crisped into silence mid-fall, hung there like decisions deferred. A swipe, not even a swipe, a notion of erasure curved through the place where Goten would have been if he had believed in single places. Goten drifted a hair's breadth beneath belief itself, and when the notion arrived, it found a boy who had not asserted himself enough to be struck. "You're yielding to absence," Beerus said, intrigued despite himself. "An insult to battle, or a compliment to reality." Goten didn't answer. He was listening, again, to the room between Beerus's presence and Whis' attention, to the memory of Goku's laughter and Piccolo's caution, to a rhythm in the soil older than Saiyan blood. He placed his palm on the trunk of a tree. The bark warmed, the leaves resumed their fall. Beerus narrowed his eyes. "Whis." "Yes, my lord. What is he doing to my expectation?" Whis' smile tilted. "He's allowing it to become yours again." Beerus lifted his hand and the sky dimmed. This time the god didn't test, he declared. Destruction gathered in his palm like the idea of a flame that had devoured the right to be named. Goku flashed to Goten's side on instinct alone, but the angel's staff barred him with a gentle touch.
"If he cannot meet this," we said, "he has not met himself." Goten turned, and for an instant his eyes reflected not silver, not power, but the absolute acceptance of the next second. The ki around him thinned past visibility, past sensation, until even Goku, who had danced with ultra instinct, felt only the memory of a calm that might have been his once, in a different life, before battle taught him to grip. Beerus released the judgment. The orchard vanished into white. In the center of that white, Goten stepped forward as if entering a room where someone dear was asleep, and he would not wake them. The god's verdict touched him and passed like wind through a door that had already been opened. The white faded. The tree was still there. Beerus's palm was empty. Silence gathered around the fact of it. Whis' lips parted in a quiet "oh." Piccolo took a breath he did not realize he had refused to take for years. Beerus lowered his hand. For the first time that morning, his gaze carried weight that was not threat, but regard. "You returned my will to me," he said softly. "You did not oppose it. You did not obey it. You released it back to what it was." Goten blinked, as if embarrassed. "I didn't want anything from it." A thin crack ran across the sky, far beyond Earth, a hairline fracture stretching over black space like a smile without humor. Whis turned his head. "Oh dear." Goku followed the angel's eyes, and his own widened. Through the crack seeped a sound that wasn't sound, a reverse echo, the memory of a universe that had tried to end while it was still beginning. Beerus's ears flattened. Even his indifference couldn't ignore a seam where seams had no right to be. "What did you open?" Beerus asked, voice low. Whis' smile faded entirely. "Not he, we. The moment a mortal harmonizes with inevitability, the neighboring timelines ask who is conducting." Goten's calm wavered, only a little. "Should I stop?" Beerus looked up at the spreading hairline and felt for the briefest instant something he despised, the imageless hunger of an ending he had not chosen. "No," he said. "Learn." The light brightened, thin and cruel, like light remembered by a blade. A second pulse answered from far within it, familiar and wrong, a rhythm that made Goku's heart stumble because it mirrored his own and didn't. From the seam, a silhouette leaned forward,
patient, silver-eyed, smiling, as if it had discovered a brother it intended to love in pieces. When the light dimmed, the air felt heavier, not with gravity, but with recognition. The figure that stepped through the crack was not alien to Goku or Beerus. It shimmered like a memory reflected in broken water, tall, calm, bearing the same warmth that once filled the air before Goku's greatest battles. But its smile was wrong, too patient, too knowing. "Goku," Whis murmured, his usual mirth gone. "Do you recognize him?" Goku's eyes narrowed. "He looks like me, but different." The figure laughed softly, a sound like glass chimes falling. "Not different, complete. You, Kakarot, are a question that was never answered. I am what happens when the answer learns to ask itself again." Piccolo clenched his fists. "He's another timeline's Goku." Whis nodded slowly. An echo from a realm where the Saiyan instinct did not burn, but listened too long to its own silence. His gaze slid toward Goten, and our young friend seems to have awakened its resonance. Beerus frowned. "So, this thing exists because of him."
Not because, Whis corrected, but in reply. The being's eyes turned toward Goten. "You heard the hum beneath creation, didn't you, little one? The same song I once followed, beyond gods, beyond destruction, until I found the end of movement itself. They called it ultra instinct. I call it what remains when even instinct bows." Goten stepped forward, unafraid. "If you've already found the end, why come here?" The silver-eyed echo tilted his head. "Because endings crave witnesses." With that, he moved. Not fast, not loud, but reality twisted as though each of his steps rewrote the concept of distance. Goku flashed beside Goten, his aura erupting like flame meeting storm. The orchard turned white with pressure. "Stay back!" Goku shouted, but his son didn't move. When the echo's hand reached forward, Goten lifted his own, calm and steady. The space between their palms folded into itself, a spiral of stillness where ki stopped vibrating altogether. Time hesitated. Whis raised his staff. The tip flared with angelic warning. "My lord, if that state spreads, even your power may not define what continues and what ceases." Beerus scowled. "Then end it before it decides to matter." He raised his palm, destruction flaring violet. But Goku's shout cracked the air. "No! That's my son in there!" Beerus hesitated, a rare flicker of something like respect or curiosity. Within the spiral, Goten's calm began to ripple. He felt it. That stillness wasn't peace anymore. It was hunger. The echo smiled gently. "Now you understand. Balance seeks itself, but never stops seeking." "I'm not you," Goten said, voice trembling, not with fear, but compassion. "You're what happens when someone mistakes silence for truth." The echo blinked, almost human again. "And you're what happens when truth forgets to speak." They clashed, not with sound but with meaning. Each motion rewrote the air, one side dissolving, the other reforming. When they struck, the orchard shattered into fragments of memory. Laughter, battles, the faces of everyone Goten had loved. He felt his mother's voice, Gohan's steady hand, Trunks' mischievous grin. He remembered peace and realized it wasn't silence at all. It was choice. His ki brightened, not silver like his father's, but pale gold, threaded with white, a warmth without edge. Goku gasped. "That's different." We smiled faintly. "He's not chasing ultra instinct, he's rewriting it through empathy." Goten stepped through the light.
The echo faltered, struck not by force, but by remembrance. Every motion the boy made contained intention softened by kindness, power released without the desire to win. The echo tried again, faster, but every attack met not resistance, but forgiveness. It was unbearable. "You pity me," the being hissed. "No," Goten whispered. "I understand you."
The words struck deeper than any blow. The echo's form fractured, flickering like glass under dawn. It reached toward Goten, not to strike, but to hold, and dissolved into light. The crack sealed. Silence returned, clean and trembling. Goten turned, exhausted, but smiling faintly. "I didn't fight him. I just stopped needing to." Beerus looked at Whis, unreadable. A mortal who ends battle by understanding it. That's new. Whis chuckled softly. "Perhaps not new, my lord, just forgotten." Goku placed a hand on his son's shoulder, eyes soft with pride and awe. "You've gone somewhere I couldn't, Goten." The boy looked up at the sky, where the crack had been. "I think I only reminded it we're already whole." But above them, unseen even by gods, another presence stirred, patient, watchful. A consciousness that had felt that ripple beyond universes. Its voice, distant as gravity, whispered through the dark. "So, another mortal has touched the calm. Perhaps it is time the angels remember why they learned to fear silence." The orchard returned to stillness, but something unseen lingered in the air, like the aftertaste of thunder. The petals no longer fell the same way. Even the wind, once aimless, carried intention now, tracing the edges of a reality that had shifted to make room for what Goten had become. Whis stood silent, his hand hovering over his staff, expression unreadable. Beerus had already turned away, though his tail flicked with agitation he couldn't hide. That energy, it wasn't mortal, and it wasn't divine. It was something in between, and I don't like things that forget which side they belong to. Whis's eyes gleamed faintly, reflecting the calm aura still shimmering around Goten. "Perhaps, my lord, he doesn't belong to either. Perhaps that's the point." "Don't play word games with me. If that boy threatens the balance, I'll erase him before his next breath." Goku stepped forward, his voice sharp with the rare tone of defiance he reserved only for gods. "You'll do no such thing. He didn't destroy anything. He stopped something worse. If you can't see that, then maybe destruction's not what keeps the universe alive. Maybe it's what keeps it afraid." Beerus turned his gaze on Goku, eyes glowing like twin amethysts. The silence between them crackled, not as enemy against enemy, but as forces that had once accepted the same truth and now questioned it. Then, almost imperceptibly, Beerus's aura faded. "Careful, Saiyan. You're starting to sound like him." He glanced at Goten. "The boy needs to learn where such power leads." Whis bowed his head slightly. "Indeed, my lord. I believe education is long overdue." A pulse of blue light opened beneath Goten's feet. Before he could speak, he was gone, drawn upward into a stream of luminous stillness that dissolved him into thought and motionless grace. When sight returned, he stood upon glass. No, not glass, but something so clear that transparency seemed crude. The realm shimmered with white light woven through pale blues, infinite reflections moving like calm rivers through clouds. It wasn't heaven, nor was it space. It was before both. Angels moved quietly along vast arcs of energy, wings of ki, halos of emotion. They did not speak, for to speak here was to disturb creation's pulse. Goten felt their eyes on him, gentle but piercing, as if measuring the shape of his soul. Whis appeared beside him. "Welcome, Goten, to the angelic realm, or what mortals might call it, though names are poor scaffolds for eternity." Goten turned slowly, wonder filling every breath. "It feels alive." "It is," Whis replied.
This is where balance breathes before it becomes law. You touch that breath back on Earth, and now the realm has taken interest. A ripple spread across the horizon, and from it descended a figure taller than Whis, wings composed of mirrored light, the Grand Minister himself. His voice arrived before his presence did, calm and absolute. So this is the child who hears silence. Whis bowed deeply. Yes, Father. The Grand Minister's eyes rested upon Goten. You stirred the seam between instinct and awareness, something even the angels were forbidden to approach. Tell me, mortal child, did you seek the power of the gods? No, Goten said softly. I just wanted to understand why fighting never ends. The faintest smile touched the Grand Minister's lips. And in seeking peace, you awakened motion itself. How curious. Do you know what you've done? Goten hesitated. I think I made something remember? The Grand Minister raised a hand, and the space around them bent. A vision unfolded, threads of light representing universes, some bright, some dim, some already fading. Within them flickered echoes of conflict, mortals, gods, angels, destruction, creation, all dancing the same loop of necessity. This, the Grand Minister said, is existence, motion and stillness eternally feeding one another. Yet your serenity, Goten, interrupted the loop. You created pause, a silence that even time obeyed. Was that wrong? No, the Grand Minister murmured, but dangerous. The gods of destruction serve to reset imbalance. You, unknowingly, reset balance itself. Goten's brow furrowed. I don't understand. Whis stepped closer. If destruction wipes the board clean, your stillness erases the idea of the board altogether. It's not power, Goten, it's permission. You allowed things to stop needing to continue. The boy looked down, his reflection rippling beneath his feet. Then what should I do? The Grand Minister regarded him for a long moment. Learn what silence means before it learns what you mean. And then, for the first time in countless millennia, the Grand Minister turned to his son. Whis, train him, not as a Saiyan, as a witness. Whis bowed, as you command.
The Grand Minister's gaze softened. And be careful. If he ever forgets to breathe between moments, even Zeno himself might not remember how to unmake him. The vision faded. The realm dimmed to a quiet blue. Goten stood alone with Whis, staring into the endless glass horizon. Somewhere far below, the mortal realm pulsed faintly, unaware of the storm being born above it. Whis smiled faintly. Well, my young friend, it seems you've inherited quite the responsibility. Ready to begin? Goten took a deep breath. The silence around him did not feel empty anymore. It felt like listening itself was alive. Yes, he said softly. I'm ready. And far away, Beerus watched from his throne, one claw tapping against the armrest. He could still feel the ripple Goten had left in his own destruction aura. It wasn't fading. It was harmonizing. He frowned. If the boy keeps this up, we won't need destruction or creation. We'll just be. And though he would never admit it, that frightened him. Whis's training did not begin with combat, nor with divine technique. It began with waiting. For 7 days, Goten stood upon a floating shard of light suspended in endless sky. He did not move, he did not speak. Whis instructed only, listen until silence becomes sound. At first, it was unbearable. The quiet pressed against him like deep water, showing him every restless part of himself he had never noticed before. He thought of home, of Chi-Chi's laughter turning to sighs, of Gohan's books stacked like walls between them, of Goku's smile fading behind the next fight. He missed them. The silence made him feel that missing. But slowly, the ache turned clear. The silence no longer suffocated him, it held him. Within it, he began to hear patterns, not voices, not music, but currents of presence. Every star, every breath of creation had a rhythm, and within that rhythm he could sense where imbalance began, the trembling that precedes chaos, the note before despair. Whist watched without expression, though his staff recorded every fluctuation of energy. He's not suppressing instinct, he's teaching it to rest. On the 8th day, Goten opened his eyes. His pupils glowed faintly gold-white. "It's not quiet anymore," he whispered. Whis smiled. "Good. That means you've begun to hear truth." He lifted his staff, and space itself responded, folding into a landscape of shifting fragments. Images drawn from Goten's memories. Goku and Vegeta sparring each other, Trunks laughing, Piccolo meditating, the faces of those who lived and fought beside him. "Your world," Whis said, "is built on collision. Every act of creation demands resistance. Every bond deepens through fracture. Tell me, child, what happens when you remove the need to struggle?" Goten looked at the visions. Goku and Vegeta struck each other again and again, each blow shaking the horizon with joy and fury intertwined. Then he looked closer, saw that beneath their rivalry burned love. "I don't want to erase struggle. I want to remember why it matters." Whis' eyes glinted with rare approval. "Then let us test that." He spun his staff. The vision solidified. No longer illusions, but living echoes. Goku and Vegeta stood before him, alive with their full power, unaware they were projections of memory shaped by ki. Goku called, grinning, "You've been gone a while, ready to show your old man what you've learned?" Vegeta's smirk was sharper. "He'll need more than meditation to stand against me." Whis stepped back into the luminous distance. "Remember," he said quietly, "every strike reveals what you serve." The air trembled. Goku moved first, faster than thought. Goten barely shifted, and the blow passed through where he had been. Vegeta appeared behind him, energy compressed into a violet storm. Goten's hand rose, and the storm unraveled, its power dissolving into light motes. Goku halted mid-strike. "Whoa, that wasn't defense." Goten exhaled. "I didn't need to block. You were never trying to hurt me, Dad." Vegeta snarled. "Don't patronize me, boy." He lunged, and suddenly his aura flared red, erupting into the perfected rage of Ultra Ego. Every pulse of it carried destruction, yet Goten only stepped forward through the blaze, eyes unblinking. The flames parted. Vegeta's breath caught. For the first time, he felt his own anger hesitate, not fade, but soften, as though reminded of something gentle long buried beneath his pride. He saw flashes of Bulma's smile, of Trunks' laughter, of every moment he had fought not to destroy, but to prove that he could love through struggle. He staggered back, clutching his chest. What did you do to me?" "Nothing," Goten said quietly. "You remembered why you fight." The illusion faltered. Goku and Vegeta's forms dimmed, flickering between light and shadow. Whis tapped his staff once, restoring the realm's stillness. "Remarkable," Whis murmured. "He does not dominate energy, he harmonizes it." Goten turned toward him. "Is that bad?" Whis' expression darkened slightly. "It depends. The cosmos is built upon friction, light and dark, creation and destruction. When you teach all sides to agree, they stop moving. And when they stop moving, existence forgets itself." The words settled heavily between them. Goten's calm wavered. He hadn't meant to unmake anything, he just wanted peace. But peace, he realized, could become its own kind of death if no one remembered why it was needed. Whis continued, "You carry your father's compassion, but you lack his chaos. Without chaos, compassion becomes stasis. You must learn balance, not stillness alone, but rhythm." Goten nodded slowly, though the thought of being a danger to existence chilled him.
Far away in the mortal world, Goku woke from a dream of silence so deep it terrified him. For a heartbeat, he had forgotten his own name. Vegeta, training alone on Beerus's world, felt his ultra ego flicker and vanish for a breath. Even Beerus's realm trembled under an unseen tension. Whis sensed it too. "The bond is fraying," he murmured. "Father and son are pulling the universe in opposite directions, one through motion, one through stillness." He turned to Goten. "We must return. The gods are beginning to feel the pause you've created." Goten hesitated. "Will they hate me for it?" Whis smiled sadly. "They'll call it many names. Fear, reverence, destiny. None of them will be wrong." And so they descended back toward the mortal realm, where the first signs of imbalance had begun. Galaxies slowing their spin, time itself losing its rhythm. Goten did not yet understand that every moment he sought peace, the universe listened too closely and began to rest with him. In his pursuit of harmony, he was teaching reality to stop breathing. When Goten returned to Earth, dawn had not yet broken. The air felt thick, as if the world had forgotten how to move forward. Clouds hung motionless over the horizon. Rivers slowed their song. Even the birds, mid-flight, seemed to hesitate between wings. He stepped into his mother's orchard, the same place where everything had begun, yet now every leaf shimmered faintly, suspended in a rhythm that no longer belonged to time. He breathed once, and the silence deepened, spreading outward like ripples of glass. "Goten." The voice came from behind, warm, weary, uncertain. Goku stood there, his gi torn from training, his aura faintly flickering, like a flame struggling against its own shadow. "Whis told me you'd be coming back, said something about the universe needing to breathe again." Goten turned, smiling softly. "I didn't mean to stop it." Goku rubbed the back of his neck. "I know, kid, but whatever you did out there, it's spreading. I can't even feel Vegeta's energy right now, and that guy's anger could light up the moon. Everything's quiet." He looked up at the sky. "Too quiet!" Before Goten could answer, a pillar of violet erupted in the distance. Sudden, violent, familiar. Beerus's planet appeared, like a reflection torn through reality itself, hovering over Earth's atmosphere. The sky cracked open with his roar. "Enough!" Goten and Goku vanished in an instant, appearing at the source. The gods were gathered. Beerus, arms crossed, face carved with restrained fury. Whis, calm but uneasy. And beside them, Vegeta, his aura flickering between blue and crimson, body trembling with conflict. Beerus's voice struck like thunder. "Do you have any idea what your stillness is doing, boy? Stars are ceasing to burn. Galaxies forget their spin. The cycle of destruction and rebirth halts wherever your ki reaches."
"I never wanted that," Goten said quietly. "I only wanted to stop the pain." Vegeta's laugh cut through the air, sharp and bitter. "And in doing so, you've taken away the meaning of strength itself." He stepped forward, eyes blazing. "Do you know what happens when Saiyans stop fighting, when they stop wanting? They die standing." Goku flinched. He could see the madness flickering in Vegeta's aura, not hatred, but despair. For a warrior who had built his soul upon motion, Goten's calm was death made visible. "Vegeta, wait!" "No, Kakarot. This boy's peace will drown us all." Before the words had even settled, Vegeta lunged, energy erupting into the pure crimson of Ultra Ego. The force shattered the space between them, a surge of destruction colliding with Goten's quiet. But as the shockwaves spread, something strange happened. The explosion didn't sound. It rippled outward in complete silence, devouring its own echo. Goten moved through it, eyes closed. Every strike Vegeta threw met not resistance, but forgiveness. Each blow lost its purpose before it landed. "Fight me!" Vegeta shouted, his voice raw. "Prove that your peace isn't cowardice!" Goten opened his eyes, glowing now not with power, but with something deeper.
Why should I hurt what I love just to prove I can? For the first time in his life, Vegeta hesitated. The fury behind his fists cracked, revealing something human, something small. In that hesitation, Goten touched his chest lightly, and all the energy within him unraveled, vanishing like breath on glass. Vegeta fell to his knees. His aura sputtered out. His heartbeat, once fierce, slowed to the same rhythm as the stillness around them. "Vegeta!" Goku cried, reaching forward, but Whis lifted a hand to stop him. "He's alive," Whis said softly, "just attuned. The boy's resonance is beginning to rewrite motion itself." Goku looked at his son, fear bleeding into awe. "Goten, what have you become?" "I don't know," Goten whispered. "Every time I try to save something, the universe grows quieter. It feels like it's listening too closely." Beerus stepped forward, eyes dark. "If it listens too long, it will sleep forever. And if that happens, I will erase you, no matter what you are." Goten met his gaze. "Then teach me how not to lose it." Beerus sneered. "You cannot learn chaos, boy. You can only fall into it." Whis tilted his head, his voice suddenly calm but cold. "Unless he becomes the balance itself." Goku frowned. "What does that mean?" Whis' staff glowed. "He must return to where creation first learned to move, the veil of Genesis, where the first key divided itself into light and dark. There, perhaps, he can remember motion without destroying it." Beerus growled. "You'd risk the veil? Even angels don't touch that realm." Whis smiled faintly. "Sometimes balance requires foolishness, my lord."
He turned to Goten. "If you go there, you'll face not gods nor demons, but the heartbeat of existence itself. Fail, and everything sleeps. Succeed, and the universe remembers why it breathes." Goten looked to his father. Goku's eyes glimmered with pain and pride. "You don't have to do this alone, son. I think I do, because this isn't a battle to win. It's a lesson to learn." The words hung like prophecy. Then without a sound, Goten vanished. A flicker of light carried upward into the folds of creation. Whis watched the sky close. "If he falters," he murmured, "even the gods will forget their names." Beerus turned away, his voice low. "Then let's pray that the boy remembers his." And far beyond them, in the silent reaches between galaxies, the stars began to dim, not from death, but from anticipation. There was no color where Goten arrived, only the memory of it. The veil of Genesis was not a place, but a state of becoming, a horizon made of heartbeat and breath, where sound had not yet learned to call itself sound. It was creation in its first whisper, the moment before light decided to exist. When Goten stepped into it, the air, if it could be called air, wrapped around him like warm water remembering its own birth. His ki dissolved instantly, stripped of every name it had worn. Super Saiyan, mortal, sun, all fell away like leaves surrendering to wind. What remained was awareness. And from that awareness, the veil spoke. "You are early." The voice was not male or female, kind or cruel. It was everything, the combined breath of every living thing that had ever been, condensed into a single tone. Goten floated in silence. "I didn't mean to come, but the universe, it's stopping because of me. Because you listened too well." The voice rippled with faint amusement, or perhaps sorrow. "Even motion must rest, little echo, but you have given the cosmos more rest than it can survive." "I just wanted peace," Goten whispered. "Peace is not stillness. Peace is movement without violence. You sought the end of pain, and so you ended the rhythm that allows joy." The words struck him deeper than any blow. He felt his heart clench, not from guilt, but from understanding. He had mistaken silence for serenity. Then the veil brightened. From its center emerged a figure, neither god nor mortal, but something fluid and infinite, made of every key signature that had ever existed. It shifted constantly. At one moment, it looked like Goku, at another, like Vegeta. Then Whis,
Then every life form he had ever known. I am the pulse, it said, the first breath of being, the sound your father heard when he broke his limits, the rhythm your ancestors felt when they became more than flesh. Its presence was overwhelming. Goten could feel every heartbeat in creation beating inside him, overlapping in perfect, painful harmony. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice shaking. "To remember that peace without purpose is oblivion, that even love must move to stay alive."
Light erupted. At once, Goten's body shattered into energy, not death but transfiguration. His consciousness expanded, touching galaxies like a ripple in endless water. He could feel Goku training somewhere in the mortal realm, his father's spirit blazing like a sunrise. He could feel Vegeta's heart still beating defiantly against despair. He could feel Chi-Chi, her small hopes echoing across generations. Every soul was a thread in the same song. He realized then, stillness was not the absence of movement, it was the pause between notes, the space that allowed the melody to mean something. Without it, sound was chaos. With too much of it, sound was gone. The truth was balance, and balance required motion. As this understanding crystallized, the pulse attacked, not with violence, but with possibility. Every form of ki he had ever known struck him at once. Super Saiyan rage, divine instinct, angelic serenity, godly destruction. It was everything that ever moved. Goten didn't dodge, he let it pass through him. And as it did, he moved. One breath, one heartbeat, one step. The step carried the weight of universes. He did not fight to destroy, he moved to remind. Every strike that landed returned to rhythm. Every explosion became part of the song. And within it, Goten's energy began to change. No longer silver nor gold, but a luminous spectrum, shifting between light and shadow like dawn itself. The pulse watched astonished. "You are teaching me how to move again." Goten smiled, the same small, gentle smile that once lit his home on earth. "You just forgot why you started." The pulse's light flickered. Its form began to stabilize. No longer chaos, but balance incarnate. The veil trembled with awakening. The universes began to spin again, faintly at first, then faster, regaining their rhythm. Goten floated in the heart of it, growing brighter with every heartbeat. "If I move, let everything move with me." And with that final breath, he vanished. Not destroyed, not ascended, but distributed. His essence scattered across the cosmos, threading itself through every atom that had once waited for permission to exist. On Earth, Goku gasped, feeling something ignite in his chest, a warmth like the first sunrise. "Goten!" Vegeta opened his eyes on Beerus's planet, his aura steady, calm but alive. What in the hell did he do? Whis lowered his staff, smiling faintly. He reminded the universe that balance isn't quiet, it's music. Beerus exhaled through his nose, his tail stilling. So the boy became the Dawn. Whis nodded. A fitting name. The first light that comes not from gods, but from harmony itself. And far beyond, at the edge of all known space, a single word echoed from the veil, a word older than creation, soft as breath. Thank you. The universe awoke gently. No trumpets of rebirth, no cataclysmic roar, just a breath, deep, patient, alive. The galaxies, long suspended between heartbeat and stillness, began to turn again. Planets spun with a quiet purpose, as if remembering why movement mattered. And among them, Earth exhaled, its skies opening with a warmth that hadn't been felt in eons.
Goku stood alone atop Mount Paozu, eyes lifted to the dawn. The air shimmered faintly with traces of light that moved like whispers, not beams, not waves, but memories of motion. He could feel Goten everywhere, in the wind, in the laughter of rivers, in the trembling joy of morning. "Son," he whispered, voice caught somewhere between awe and grief. "You really did it." The silence answered him not with sound, but with rhythm. Every heartbeat around him, his, the birds, the mountains, aligned for an instant. For that fleeting second he understood. Goten hadn't vanished, he had become the space where life remembers itself. Behind him, Vegeta landed with his usual lack of ceremony. His armor was cracked, his cape torn, yet his expression was calm. Not defeat, not denial, just quiet respect. "So," he said, folding his arms, "the boy made peace into power. I didn't think that was possible." Goku smiled faintly. "Guess he found a way to fight without fighting." Vegeta snorted. "Typical of your bloodline, turning sentiment into technique." But he looked up, the rising sun reflecting in his eyes. "It's strange. My anger doesn't burn like it used to. It feels balanced, focused, almost like he took the noise with him." "He didn't take it," Goku said softly. "He taught it how to listen." They stood together for a while, the two warriors who had carried universes on their shoulders, now watching the world turn because of a boy who never wanted to be a warrior at all. "Do you think he's gone?" Vegeta asked finally. Goku shook his head. "Nah, just changed. He's everywhere now. Look around. Can't you feel it?" Vegeta closed his eyes. The breeze moved across his skin, gentle, steady. He could feel the same pulse that once beat within battle itself, now woven into life. Not silence, but harmony. He murmured. "So this is what peace feels like when it earns the right to exist." Above them, the sky rippled with faint silver lines, threads of Goten's energy stretching through space like rivers of light. Whis appeared beside them, floating quietly, staff glimmering. "The balance is restored. Creation and destruction move again. You should be proud." Goku smiled, though his eyes shimmered. He was never trying to be stronger than us, just truer. Whis tilted his head, studying him. Perhaps strength was never meant to be measured in escalation, but in alignment. He turned toward Vegeta, whose usual arrogance had softened into something that almost resembled humility. "Even the gods will feel this change, Lord Beerus included." Vegeta huffed. "Beerus will never admit a mortal taught the universe to breathe." Whis chuckled. "Oh, he already has. He's simply napping in protest." That earned a rare, genuine laugh from Goku, and even Vegeta's mouth curved, just slightly. But the laughter faded when Whis' tone changed. "The pulse has begun to sing again. Universes beyond your own will soon awaken, and with them, new questions will rise about power, purpose, and what it means to exist together." Goku nodded, eyes distant. Then maybe that's Goten's real gift, not an ending, but a reminder. Whis' gaze softened. Indeed, even angels needed to remember that balance is not our creation, it's our inheritance. As he spoke, the light thickened, not brighter, but deeper. It flowed around them, warm and sentient. From it emerged faint silhouettes, echoes of faces, Chi-Chi smiling, Gohan teaching, Trunks laughing beside a younger version of Goten. They were not ghosts, but memories made alive. Vegeta turned away, clearing his throat. "Sentimentality," he muttered, though his voice trembled. Goku stepped closer to the light. "Goten, can you hear us?" A shimmer, then from within the glow, a voice, faint, patient, everywhere at once. "I never left, Dad." Goku's breath hitched. "Are you happy?" "I'm learning," the voice said gently. "I used to think peace meant stopping everything, but it's really about letting things move, together." Vegeta clenched his fists. You sound like a god already." A soft laugh echoed, the sound of a child who had outgrown the need for victory. "No, Vegeta, just someone who finally heard what you've been shouting all this time." Vegeta blinked, startled. "And what's that supposed to mean?"
"That pride and peace aren't enemies. They're just the same flame, at different speeds." The silence that followed was heavy, but not empty. It was full of understanding, of completion. The light began to fade, dispersing into the morning sky. As it did, petals fell from the trees below, glowing faintly with traces of divine ki. We smiled. He's become what Ultra Instinct was always meant to be. Not power detached from emotion, but awareness so complete it carries compassion as its center. The gods will give it a name soon. Goku tilted his head. A name? Whis twirled his staff. Yes, serene transcendence, the state beyond instinct, where harmony itself becomes strength. Vegeta scoffed softly. Leave it to your kind to make enlightenment sound like a fighting form. Goku chuckled, his laughter carrying into the wind. Guess that's the Saiyan way. We learn through battle, even when the fight's inside us. Whis' form began to fade, the light of his staff dimming. The era of still hearts begins today. Remember him not as the boy who surpassed gods, but as the reminder that gods too can learn. When the angel vanished, only the sunrise remained, burning gold and silver together, as if the heavens themselves were still trying to decide which hue belonged to Goten. Goku and Vegeta watched it in silence. Do you think the universe will ever need another savior? Vegeta asked. Goku smiled softly, his gaze lost in the dawn. Maybe not. Maybe now it just needs listeners. And for the first time since the beginning, both Saiyans sat down, not to train, not to rest, but to be. Above them, the stars shimmered in rhythm, pulsing with the quiet song of a boy who had once wanted peace and instead became its voice. The cosmos moved, gently, perfectly, eternally, guided by his will. And somewhere beyond the edge of sound, the universe whispered its gratitude. The stars burned quietly, as if remembering his will.